another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ died and he rose again. Amen. So, that being said, let's get right into it, okay? I would like to extend a happy belated birthday to the GOAT, Michael Jordan. February 17th was his birthday. I know I'm a little bit late, but I guess you can kind of say I was catching up on my rest. Yeah, I guess you can kind of say I was catching up on my rest the other day. It's hard to get rest. It's hard to get adequate amount of rest when you're working two jobs and you're just trying to fit the stuff in. So anyway, but yeah, happy birthday, belated birthday to the GOAT, Michael Jordan. Came into the league in 1984, was immediately a sensation. 28.2 points per game. 1984-85 NBA Rookie of the Year. Gets a shoe deal with Nike. 1986, he injures his foot. Misses the next 64 games. Comes back, drops 63 on Boston. People forget he scored 49 points in game one. Yeah, he had 49 points in game one. And so then he came back with 63. But Boston pretty much held him in check in game three. They just said, okay, let's get the ball out of his hands and let's see what Dave Corzine can do. And needless to say, he didn't do much. 1987, I guess you can say 1987, I guess he was making up for lost time in 1986 because he went on a scoring rampage like nobody's ever seen before. 37.1 points per game. 37.1 points per game in the era where you had Los Angeles, the Lakers, Boston, Detroit. Yeah, that was in the era where you could grab somebody around the neck and it could be a foul. It could be just a regular foul. And he averaged 37.1 points per game that season. 37 times that season, I believe he ran up 40 points per game. Season high was 50. No. His season high was 61 against the Atlanta Hawks in an overtime loss at Chicago Stadium. That was his season high. Then he scored 58 points against the New Jersey Nets in a win versus the New Jersey Nets. I believe he did torch the Pistons for 61 points in a victory over the Pistons at the Pontiac Silverdome. Yeah, okay. 1988 probably might have been his greatest year. 35 points per game. Defensive Player of the Year. MVP. All-Star Game MVP. Did I already say Defensive Player of the Year? I think I said that already. Slam dunk champion. Yeah, I think 1988 may have been his greatest year. Yeah, 1988 was his greatest year. They finally get past the first round, defeating Cleveland 3-2, lose to Detroit in the Eastern Conference semifinals. He averages 32.5 points per game. In 1989, Bulls go all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals versus the Pistons. They lose in 6 games. So they come back for 1990. They have a new head coach, Phil Jackson. As Scottie Pippen said, Doug Collins' approach was catered towards Michael. and Phil Jackson's approach was more catered towards team. And I think it was probably put best by somebody who said, oh, Phil Jackson said, hey, Michael, do you want to score 60 or do you want to win into titles? Yeah. So Jordan still averaged 33.5 points per game. Was on the all defensive team, along with guys like Dennis Rodman and Joe Dumars. So he averaged 33.5 points per game. Career high 69 points versus Cleveland. Late in the year, he scored 54 points against the Cavaliers on opening night. That was when he went head to head with Ron Harper, who was traded shortly to the Clippers. Ron Harper was traded shortly to the Clippers after that duel with Michael Jordan on opening night. Bulls went all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals again, bow out to Detroit in 7 games. Now, 1991 was the only year that Michael Jordan did not hit the 50-point plateau. The only year he did not hit the 50-point plateau. He did have a couple of 40-point games versus the Philadelphia 76ers that year. But still averaged 31.5 points per game. Led the Bulls to the best record in the NBA. Swept to Detroit in the playoffs. Gets his first ring. Now on comes 1992. I believe he had a couple of more 50-point games, like the time he scored 57 points against the Washington Bullets. Yeah, he scored 57 against the Washington Bullets. 67-15. Best record in the NBA. Go back to the NBA Finals. Of course, Game 1. 6 threes. 35 points in a half. Bulls blow out the Blazers 122-89. And I think that pretty much set the tone for the whole series. And I think Jordan not only sent a message to Portland, but he sent a message to Clyde Drexler as if to say, hey, you're not even in my galaxy. Okay. You remember what he said in the last dance. They were comparing me and Clyde Drexler as the 2 best guards. And hey, I took offense to that. Yeah. And so, Game 6 comes along. The Bulls are struggling, okay? So Phil Jackson tries something in the fourth quarter of Game 6 when they're down 15. Phil Jackson tries something. He puts in 4 reserves along with Scottie Pippen. He takes Michael Jordan out, so it's Pippen, King, Bobby Hansen, I believe B.J. Armstrong, and Pippen, King, Bobby Hansen, B.J. Armstrong, and can't remember the other one. Getting old, ain't I? Yeah, but it was Pippen and 4 other reserves that started the fourth quarter in Game 6 of the 1992 NBA Finals versus Portland. And the Bulls went on a run without Michael Jordan. Okay. Michael Jordan was cheering on from the bench. And once the Bulls had got the lead down enough, then Michael came back in to finish up the job. Michael came back in, and along with Pippen, he finished a job. Okay. They play in the Olympics that summer, Jordan and Pippen, and they win the gold medal easily. Now he comes back for 1993. he had a season high of 64 points against the Orlando Magic in Chicago Stadium. But if Nick Anderson did not hit that three to force overtime, and the Magic won the game in overtime, then hey, but he scored 64 points against the Magic in a losing effort. So I guess that was Shaquille O'Neal's initiation to playing against Michael Jordan that year. You remember back in 1990 when he wore number 12? He had his jersey stolen and he wore number 12. He had 49 against the Orlando Magic and they lost. Yeah. And so, let me see. 1994, he was retired. And incredibly, Michael predicted his own comeback. Michael predicted his own comeback. He said, the Bulls, if the Bulls fall, he said something like, if the Bulls fall off, maybe that's the challenge that I need. And so Michael, he foretold his own comeback. And he came back in March of 1995, which is next month, which is exactly a month from now. Yeah, the anniversary of when he came back. People don't know this, but when Michael Jordan came back against the Indiana Pacers, his first game back, he actually had his shorts on backwards. Okay, look at the footage. He had his shorts on backwards. Okay, but he came back. He had 48 points against the Charlotte Hornets in Game 1. Led them to a 3-1 victory. Then, of course, he had the ball stolen by Nick Anderson. We all remember that. He comes back with 38 points in Game 2. Scores 40 points in Game 3. In a losing effort. But the Magic ended up winning the series in 6 games. And Magic ended up winning the series in 6 games. And he starts working out the very next day. He's filming Space Jam. They add Dennis Rodman to the roster, and he's surrounded by a new cast of characters like Luke Longley, Judd Bushler, Steve Kerr, Jason Caffey, Randy Brown, Tony Kukoc. So he's surrounded by a completely cast of characters that went 72-10 in 1996. That year, the Chicago Bulls ruled everything. Phil Jackson was named Coach of the Year. Michael Jordan was named MVP. He also been named MVP in 91 and 92 as well. So, Phil Jackson, Coach of the Year. Michael, MVP. Scotty, Michael, and Dennis on the all-defensive team. Tony Kukoc was named Sixth Man of the Year. And not only that, Phil Jackson became the all-time winningest coach in Bulls history. Okay, and they breezed through the playoffs, sweep the Orlando Magic 4-9. Win the 6 versus the Seattle Supersonics. 1997, pretty much the same thing. They were a Scottie Pippen 3-pointer away. They played the Knicks in the final game of the regular season. I watched that game. They were a Scottie Pippen 3-pointer away from going back-to-back 71 seasons, okay? They finished the season at 69-13. But Scottie Pippen missed a 3-pointer at the end of the final game of the regular season. So they went 69-13 instead of going 70-12. That's how dominant they were. That's just how dominant they were. Okay. And so they were this close to back-to-back 71 seasons. They played the Bullets in the first round. Michael goes off for 55 points in game 2. Go past Atlanta 4-1. Get past Miami 4-1. Then Michael has the flu game in game 5. Scores 38 points. Plays 44 minutes. Yeah. You can play 44 minutes to score 38 points while you're sick. Goat. Nothing more can be he said. And was his 5th NBA title. 1998 they go 62-20. MVP again. Won his 10th scoring title. He edged out Shaquille O'Neal. It was an All-Star Game MVP. Led the Bulls to their 6th NBA title. Although it kind of looked scary there for a minute versus the Indiana Pacers. It did look pretty scary there for a minute. But they ended up pulling through. Then, of course, Jordan hits the game-winning shot in Game 6. He also in some ways scored the game-winning basket in Game 2 because the Bulls had got a steal. Steve Kerr came down in Game 2 and shot a 3. He missed. The rebound went right to Steve Kerr. He dished to Michael Jordan, who hit a layup and got fouled. Okay, so that was the winning play in Game 2. And people have always debated whether he pushed off on Brian Russell. Okay, they were debating this on NBA Open Court. They said, "What about when Jordan pushed Brian Russell?" And then like, "Oh no, It said, and Kenny Smith was like, "No, man, he got shook." And so then Kenny Smith said, "If you watch the footage, Brian Russell got lost in the pullback." Brian Russell got lost in the pullback or something. And it was during Game 6 where Isaiah Thomas kept saying that during the broadcast. He was on the broadcast with Bob Costas and Collins. Isaiah kept saying it. He said, "If I'm Utah, I would start double teaming him." And Isaiah Thomas said it again. He said, "All right, if I'm Utah, I would start double teaming him right now." And then Isaiah Thomas brought it up again. He said, "You got to take the ball out of his hands and make either Harper or Pippen beat you from the field." And then when Jordan hit the game-winning shot, Isaiah Thomas said it once again. He said, "At the end of the game, you got to get the ball out of his hands. He's beaten it so many times. You watch Jordan play, Doug, and you know at the end of the game, he's a killer." Isaiah Thomas kept saying it during the broadcast. Utah would not double team him. Utah would not double team him. Isaiah Thomas kept saying that. Isaiah Thomas was like, "Hey, you got to double team him. Get the ball out of his hands." But Utah didn't. So he retires for the second time. Comes back in 2001 with Washington. And it was said that he didn't have a very good relationship with his teammates in Washington, but he did have a pretty good relationship with Tyronn Lue. Okay, he did have a pretty good relationship with Tyronn Lue. He and Tyronn Lue were here. He and Tyronn Lue were here, and so they developed an immediate rapport. Jordan and Tyronn Lue. And I think it was Tyronn Lue who said the pressure was on him because he wanted to win so badly. Okay. And so, I think Jordan's competitiveness, his drive, really didn't rub off on his Wizard teammates in the way that he thought it would. And they did go 37 and 45 in 2001 and 2002. A couple of 50-point games against the New Jersey Nets, Charlotte Hornets. But they went 37 and 45 both years, missed the playoffs. But people think that, well, first of all, he played for free. He played those 2 years for free because he donated his entire salary to the victims of the 9/11 attacks. Okay, so he donated his entire salary for those 2 years to the victims of the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Okay, and so the only person he had a real good relationship with was Tyronn Lue. And he didn't have a very good relationship with Jerry Stackhouse. Jerry Stackhouse says he regretted playing with Michael Jordan, but this is where you begin to see the deterioration of the NBA. The slow deterioration of the NBA, very slow, because Michael was trying to teach these guys how to win. He was trying to teach those young Wizard players how to win. The dedication that it takes, the commitment that it takes. And not everybody had it. Not everybody had that dedication. And I think that's one of the reasons that Reggie Miller retired after the 2005 season. Reggie Miller said he knew it was time to retire because the young guys, it was all about having fun, not wanting to be on time, not wanting to learn, to get better, whatnot. Now, that couldn't be said of Jermaine O'Neal because Jermaine O'Neal was the one who, when he first came to Indiana, Jermaine O'Neal said, "Put me next to Reggie Miller's locker because I need to talk to him." So Jermaine O'Neal was the one who probably benefited from playing with Reggie Miller, wanted to learn from Reggie Miller. So I think Jordan's drive, Michael's drive, his dedication, his work ethic, maybe could rub off on some of the younger Wizard players, but it didn't. And not only that, Michael impacted the Wizards off the court as well, because before he came back, the Wizards weren't doing good attendance wise, and they had several bad contracts. So within 2 years, he turned that whole financial mess around, and he turned that whole attendance thing around within 2 years. That's how much pull Michael Jordan had. Okay. Within 2 years, he turned that whole situation around. He turned that attendance situation around. They were losing money. He turned that around. And he got rid of the bad contracts. He turned that around. Okay. And yet they still got rid of him. Because it was expected that he would come back in his front office role after he was done. But it was said that Abe Poholian said, "We're not going to retain you." And Abe Poholian reportedly gave him a check to thank him. And it was said that Michael Jordan reportedly gave the check back to Abe Poholian. So, yeah, but 5-time MVP, 10-time scoring champion, 6-time NBA champion, Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star Game MVP, 2 times, 3 times, yeah, because he won it in 1996 when he came back. Okay, yeah, so he won in 1996 when he came back. So 3-time All-Star Game MVP, 2-time dunk champ. His drive, his competitiveness, his work ethic. We will never see no one like him again. The closest I can think of is Kobe Bryant. Okay, and they call Kobe Bryant MJ Light. Okay, MJ Light. Kobe Bryant was MJ Light. So that's the closest thing we've seen to Michael. But great competitor, great career. MJ, salute. You're the GOAT. All right, that's it. And that's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I'm out of here. Peace out. God bless.